Hey guys, thanks for tuning in today. So today we're going to be focusing on drivetrain. All right, so in the process of getting this thing ready to marry it back up to the new engine, one of the other things we got to do, of course, we got our adapter plate. We've got to make some modifications to here to do that. But we went ahead and cleaned up our bell housing. Had a bunch of clutch material, stuff like that from previous, from 200,000 miles just build up. You want all that good and clean. You don't want any of that being able to get back into your new clutch or anything like that. Also, we're going to go ahead and take the time in our application. Now, this is the NV3550 that come with it. We're going to go ahead and just keep the stock transmission. We're not doing anything crazy there. So yours might be different, whether you're putting any other kind of transmission. Maybe yours has the AX15. It's a little bit older. But anyways, in this particular application, we noticed a little bit of leakage around here, and it coming out of this snout. So there's a seal back in here, and this where it bolts up against the case, it's got a little bit thin bead of silicone on it. So while we got it out, we're going to go ahead and take this snout off, just a few 10mm bolts, pull it off, change out the seal, put the new or put some silicone back on it, put it back together, and then we can go ahead and move on to our next part of getting the adapter plate, the modifications we need to do for it. So we're going to work on getting these bolts out, pull the snout off, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so you can see here's our inner seal. This is our new one we got to go in here after 200,000 miles, just a little on the more outside. This is where that silicone goes, just a real nice thin beads we're going to put on here, nothing too thick, you don't want it splooging, getting all up in there. Everything looks pretty good here, don't see any, any groove or anything in there, so where the seal rides on, so we're good. So we're going to get this cleaned up, get our new seal in, and go back together and silicone it. All right, so got our snout off, went ahead and cleaned it all up, got the new seal in. You just pull the old one out and press it in. There's different ways you can do it depending on what tools you got with you. So we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit of axle grease on here. You can do white lithium if you want. I've done that before. But the goal here is to kind of get a little bit of lube on here before you start running it, so the seal's not dry on the first startup. Remember, a little bit of lube makes everything better. So we got that. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and put us a nice thin, and I emphasize on the word thin, bead of silicone around here. You don't need to get crazy. You don't want to get in too much into this port. So this is an oiling port. If you'll notice right here, there's a hole where the oil travels through the transmission. So you also want to make sure when you put this back together that you line that up right and caulk it right. I think it only bolts one way. Granted, this is on the NV3550. Yours, depending on what transmission you got, might be fairly similar. So, if you're in this situation, you might want to look up per your particular transmission. So we're going to put a little thin bead around here to seal this up, put it on there, go ahead and tighten them down, and we'll be good to go. So. Alright, nice thin bead. Let's clean your fingers off. I guarantee you this stuff will get everywhere. It's like anti-seize. It's crazy. Notice we keep our port area nice and clean. We'll go ahead and stick this bad boy back on there. And, nice and gentle with that seal. Make sure it goes on there because the way it's facing. Don't want to get too crazy. You don't want to just jam it on there. It's just like anything, you don't want to ram it in. And just make sure get your bolts lined up. Starting by hand. And we're going to go ahead and torque these down to about 10 foot-pounds, something like that. Sure, it's pretty close on the spec. Wasn't able to really find anything on this particular one. Like I said, you probably should look it up if you're doing this yourself. So, but given the size of these bolts and the type, I would say right around 10 pounds should do us good. More or less, your big goal here, 10 foot-pounds is going to be plenty. Your big goal here is to make sure you're getting even torque across there. You don't want to distort that snout. That's how you get leakage. So, and everyone knows we don't want leakage. So. All right, like most anything like this, like I said, star pattern, went around first, snug them down just barely, go back over with the first pass to torque. We're such a low torque value, we don't need to do like a half torque and then go around. Run them till they click, and then go back around one more time to make sure, because as you run them down, it might pull some other loose. So anyways, we're down, we're good. Got our new sealing, got that sealed up, so we won't have any leaking issues there. It's the last thing we want is any of that fluid getting out on a brand new clutch and flywheel. So now we're good for that aspect. Let's work on getting our new adapter plate on from Novak. Okay kids, so we are ready to mess with our adapter plate. What we're doing here, this is our adapter plate from Novak. This will allow you, this particular one will allow you to bolt up a LS engine Gen 3 or whatever up to this NV3550, and it does it by way of a few little tricks. So what we've got to do is, most everything's cool. The only problem is we've got two bolts, or two bolt holes here and right now, that we've got to drill all the way through. It takes a 13/32 bit, I believe, and we're actually going to use the plate as a guide. So if you get this from Novak, they'll send you a cool printout of how to do all this stuff, but we're going to go over it in the video anyways. So first off here, we have got these studs. We went ahead and threaded these in. They're just like that right there, just stud material, or threaded stock, whatever you want to call it. Run them in till they're almost flush on the back side. Holes are all the way through. So what we're going to do is we're getting this set up to where we can go ahead and jig it up to where we can drill our other two holes. We got our 4 in, 2 top center ones here, 2 on the bottom, because they go into the bottom here. And what we're going to do now, I'm going to pull these dowels out. We're going to go ahead and take this. If you'll notice, the side where the bevel is, these bevel, they're like a recessed screw. These are what bolt into the Chevrolet motor, GM motor, whatever you want to call it. So make sure you got it facing the right way when you do this, and you'll know that by making sure this is lined up. So we're going to go ahead and slide this in just like that. And now we're pretty close, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. So we want to make sure we're about as dead nuts as possible. Now, these are a cool little offset deal that they engineer and had designed or whatever. There's 2 holes here that just don't jive, and they're just close enough that they couldn't really do anything with, with making separate holes. So they come up with this. So for now, to get this good and lined up, this threaded part actually threads into the engine block. This part here goes into the adapter, and this goes into the transmission housing. You'll see in a little bit why these are like this as we put them in the block and we bolt the plate to it, but for now we're just trying to line this up. So just kind of get in there, just kind of shimmy it around, and you'll feel it in there like that. So now we're good and lined up there. Just for good measure, we're going to put the other one in and just shimmy it a little bit, and boom, now we're dead nuts. So we're going to go ahead and take these nuts and go ahead and run a couple on the back side to pull it down like here so it doesn't move on us. And we're going to go ahead and mark our holes and then drill them on out. Alright, so you kind of learn as you go, and this is definitely a totally new experience and something new, but in their thing it talks about using this as a guide to drill and everything. I guess mark them, but ours are pretty dead nuts on, so we're actually going to take this plate back off and then drill through, because that size bit ain't gonna fit through there because it's got to be bigger than what you're sticking through the hole. Take that as you will. So we're gonna go take this back off, get our 13 to 30 seconds bit, run it on through, because if you'll notice, the reason why we're doing this is right now we technically only have like 4 bolts holding this whole transmission on. Well, I guess technically 6 because we have the 2 dowels, but you can never have too much in this situation, especially the kind of power we're putting into this thing, everything we're doing. So this gives you 1, 2 more. Where's the other one? Right. Yeah. So it's giving you 2 more that are, yeah, 2 more to mount to. So it gives you 8 total. So it just makes it that much stronger. But the reason we're drilling through is because they're not all the way through. So, but now we know your application, maybe those are offset a little bit. Maybe you got to mark them with a Sharpie or something like that. But in our application, they're dead on. So we're going to take the plate, drill them out, and then we'll go ahead and work on. The next thing we do is we actually got to bolt this plate up to the engine first. Then it gets bolted to the transmission. So, okay. So we're going to go ahead and drill. You don't need anything crazy like any kind of magnetic drill press or anything, which would be actually awesome in this situation, except it's aluminum, so it wouldn't work. But anyways, always wear safety glasses when you're drilling. That stuff gets everywhere. Don't be an idiot. Make sure you're good and clean. Now, if you got any air tools or anything, go ahead and blow all this out. You definitely don't want metal shavings all up in here. So we're gonna clean that all out. And next thing we're gonna do is get our adapter plate on our engine so we can get ready to marry these two together. And what a glorious union it will be. Okay, so, you know, just nice back and forth. Just tap it on down to where it's nice and flush. Now, what you'll notice is a lot of times, it depends. They might already be down enough that you're good. In this case here, we've got it down enough to where we're clear. But these dowels on the GM block need to be at least flush, minimum, or recessed behind this plate. Because if they stick out, it's going to hit your bell housing, and you got to tighten this thing down. And more than likely, it's going to crack your bell housing before that thing moves. So we're going to go ahead. This one's out a little bit. Take us a nice punch. Center it up and just, if it wants to move, just a smidge more. Okay, we're good. So, got all that down. We're good there. Now, we'll go ahead and take our Loctite and our bolts and start them in. So as with any project or anytime you're doing tightening stuff or putting stuff together, don't be an idiot. Don't put a bolt in and go run it down. Start them all by hand first and let them get snug. Sure, it would be nice of GM to put an extra bolt there. Just saying. But we'll work with what we got. It's gonna be plenty strong, so for some reason they felt the need to never put a bolt there. I don't know why. Would have really made it nice anytime you're putting one on a stand, like putting your yoke up, it made it so much easier. But for some unknown reason, they felt they didn't need to do that. So we're just gonna deal with it. All right, so those 4 are in. And we're good on all fronts, so we're going to go ahead and snug these on down, and then we're going to torque them to 30 foot-pounds. All right, so now we got our plate on, got everything mounted down, or torqued down to spec. So we got our 4 studs in. We can go ahead and put our other 2 in. Actually, our other 2 right here, and go from there. So these are pretty cool. They actually help you self-center up the bell housing onto there so you know it's good and lined up. So it's a pretty cute, cool, neat little thing they come up with. So we're gonna go ahead and put our other 2 studs in, and then we're ready to slide these 2 together. All right, kids, so those of you with a sharp eye realize that we're about to put this thing back together and there's no clutch fork or throwout bearing in there. So it's a project. You run into problems, it happens. So our problem currently is that we have a clutch fork and all that, and we might go ahead and put it back. Well, no, actually no sense putting it back in, because the throwout bearing that we need is an actual adjustable type, because we're putting on a totally different clutch setup and all. That factory one is not going to work. So we the only place to get it is Novak, and the problem is they don't have them right now. But so through the magic of film, that's not an issue for you guys, but we're they're saying at least another 2 months out, so which fortunately we have plenty of other stuff to do, but it would be really nice to go ahead and just put this thing together and leave it. But so we're gonna have to go back in, put the clutch fork in and the throwout bearing, and adjust it out to where we need to be to make sure we have the proper clutch engagement, which is crucial. Now, granted, it's the right way to do it, and to make sure that you're getting proper clutch engagement and disengagement and you don't burn up a clutch. So it sucks, but hopefully they're going to be working on it, because they actually literally build them in-house from scratch. So but yeah, so anyways, anybody that noticed, yes, I know we're not putting any of that in right now, but we're doing it for the sake of getting this mated up so we can get the whole drivetrain in, because we got 2 things. We need to get the whole drivetrain in, set it in, and mock up where our engine mounts are going to weld up to the frame. And also, so we're doing a slip yoke eliminator, and we're doing away with the 2-piece or the slip yoke kit. So we have to measure from the back of the transfer case to the rear differential, and we need that measurement. So for the sake of getting all that going, we're going to go ahead and just throw it together, get it in there, get our measurements, and then pull it back out, and hopefully by then we'll have our throwout bearing. So my cousin loves it. All right, guys, so we're running into a little bit of issue here, and you guys probably will too. So Gen 3 small block LS motor going to an NV3550. We got the adapter plate. The problem we ran into is right here on the inside. We had the starter mounted up here, and the starter was hitting on the bell housing here a little bit. So we're gonna have to go back and pull the starter out of the way. So fortunately everything lined up with our clutch disc, pilot bushing, everything nice and smooth. So we're gonna go ahead and come back and massage that out a little bit so we can put the starter in. It's not much, maybe a little over 1/16 of an inch. Also, where we drilled out for these 2 bolts here on the top, did you notice there's no way a nut's gonna fit in there? So we're gonna have to pull these studs out, go ahead and massage around here to clear us a little bit of room. You can see the difference here from the factory one. We're gonna do that on both of those. Also too, with where the centering dowels, offset dowels are, keep a couple of your bolts from your original motor. That's what you need to reuse on both sides where those centering bolts are. Just reuse those bolts there. You can figure it out when you pull the bolts out. So when you're pulling your motor apart, save the engine mounting bolts. You're gonna need to reuse a couple of them. So of course, as always, you guys are doing this at your own risk. We assume no responsibility for any of this. If you're stupid and kill yourself or get hurt, whatever, blah, 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 all that legal fun stuff. So we're doing this for fun, hopefully a good educational tutorial for you. And as always, guys, remember, stock is not an option.